Critical Role gets a new GM, Baldur's Gate 3's massive final update finally goes live, and TTRPGs might be getting crushed by these new tariffs. Son of a bitch! Welcome to Tabletop News Tuesday on the Character Sheet, your first look at the week's biggest TTRPG and fantasy news. Before we dive into big Critical Role and BG3 updates, why not take a second to hit those like and subscribe buttons? It's totally free and it really helps the channel keep growing. And then, let's dive into the news.
Good news, everyone!
Critical Role has been bringing in a bunch of new guests over the last year or so, but today's one-shot is one of the first new guest DMs we've seen on Critical Role in years. While Matt Mercer normally sits behind the DM screen, sometimes the other cast members also take a turn, like Sam on Wildmount Wildlings, or one-shots run by Laura, Travis, or the rest of the main cast. Guest DMs, on the other hand, are much more rare, with only a handful ever appearing on Critical Role, with that list consisting mainly of Brennan Lee Mulligan and Abria Iyengar. But not only will we be getting a new guest GM in the form of Jasper William Cartwright for the Thresher series, but we're getting Zach Clay stepping into the DM's chair for the new Humblewood one-shot tonight as well. Clay, who you may know from his appearance in Dungeons & Dragons video on how after-school D&D programs work, will be helming this new one-shot exploring the world of Humblewood Beyond the Canopy, the sequel to the much-loved Redwall-esque anthropomorphic animal-based setting of the original Humblewood, with cast members Liam and Ashley also joining in on the fun. While any new DM is a huge change for Critical Role, it also shows fans just how much time is being taken to let Matt decompress after Campaign 3 and prepare for their live shows, as he hasn't sat down in front of the Critical Role camera since EXU Divergence ended last month. And while we hope some of that time was dedicated to getting Campaign 4 going, given his busy schedule of new actual plays he's performing in and the fact that their live show world tour has already begun, this just seems like more confirmation that Campaign 4 is looking further and further away.
But I want it now!
The Wheel of Time Season 3's finale is this week, and while the show has taken a notable upturn in quality, its massive deviations from the source material for characters like Ren, Moiraine, and Perrin this season have still left fans divided over the series that appears ever more loosely based on the Robert Jordan novels. Although viewership was solid if not spectacular, with it being at the bottom of the top 10 of new streaming original programs for March in the most recent Nielsen data available, with about 1/3 of the views of big streaming hits like Reacher, and even behind streaming repeats of shows like Gunsmoke. But the quality of the show itself, with its visuals and special effects, and the overall acting this season, especially from Josha Stradowski and the rest of the main cast, has definitely jumped up a notch. So much so that the cast revealed that they were confident this series would be renewed for a 4th season in an interview with Tech Radar, with Stradowski saying, "Yeah, we're confident that a 4th season will be greenlit." Worryingly, however, Prime Video has not announced a production order for the 4th season yet, as normally that move is made before the show finishes airing its season, and with just hours to go before that happens, we'll have to see if there was enough improvement and interest in the Wheel of Time to keep the fantasy franchise alive for at least one more season.
It's a waiting game right now.
Baldur's Gate 3's final massive update, the long-awaited Patch 8, arrives today, and fans are already chomping at the bit to check out what is potentially the second biggest update ever released, according to the head of Larian Studios himself, Sven Vinke, who said he had to read through 48 pages of notes for the massive update, and that he would award 3 Michelin stars to it as well. This update marks the final announced patch for Baldur's Gate 3, and the last bit of official content to hit the game, as Larian Studios has already moved on to work on their mysterious next project. But not all hope is lost for BG3 fans. When Patch 7 dropped, it was also supposed to be the final update for the Game of the Year winner, but Larian Studios decided right after that they would let their devs cook and come up with one more big update before stepping away. So there is always hope something similar happens this time as well. But if not, at least we go out with a bang with a patch that has added some 20,000 words worth of patch note updates to the game, which is only behind the massive Patch 3 in terms of length. And with 12 brand new subclasses to break the game with, some much needed fixes to a few bugs that were ruining honor mode runs, and the long requested photo mode, we fully expect Baldur's Gate 3 to shoot back to the top of the Steam charts when the update finishes dropping on all platforms today.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
And finally, the new tariffs levied against China by the White House may have a crippling impact on the TTRPG industry, despite initial hopes that the books would be one of several exemptions of the 154% tariff being placed on Chinese imports. While most books do appear to be exempt from tariffs, apparently TTRPG books in specific may not be, thanks to an obscure Customs and Border Protections ruling from the early 90s known as the Cross ruling, which basically categorizes fantasy roleplay game books as, quote, expansion modules for fantasy gameplay, not books for passive reading, and effectively labels them as an arcade, table, or parlor game instead, as uncovered by ICV2 this week. The damage to tabletop gaming from this could be massive, as the head of Cephalofair Games, makers of the massively popular Gloomhaven and Frosthaven board games and the Gloomhaven TTRPG, said they may have to quit distributing games to America entirely over these tariffs, which would basically double the cost of creating their games. The very biggest companies, like Wizards of the Coast, would also face massive increases in costs that could result in huge price increases to the consumer if they want to keep turning out product, or it could simply force them to produce less physical content and begin that push for all digital releases that some fans had been fearing. And for people suggesting that the TTRPG companies should just produce their books locally, ICV2 actually got an operations manager for Brotherwise Games and Druid City Games to get quotes from various factories around the world for the same TTRPG bundle of 108 cards, a rulebook, a storage box, and a punchable token set. US factories quoted them around $8 per unit and an estimated 3 to 4 month completion window. A factory in Lithuania quoted them around $4 per unit, but said they would have to pay to do that token punch sheet somewhere else. And Chinese factories offered a price of 54 cents per copy and delivery in just 3 weeks. So while buying US is possible, it could potentially raise the cost of a TTRPG by over 400%, which means we could be in for a lot less TTRPGs and at a much higher price for the next 3.5 years. And that's all the stories we have this week on Tabletop News Tuesday. Let us know what your favorite story was down in the comments, and don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons.